And there was like at some point one of the QBs broke his ankle, so that was like
Oh
dramatic
yeah.
sort of moment. Yeah, it was pretty intense. Left in
Wow.
a stretcher and everything, but
I-
they still won.
wow.
Spoiler alerts.
You check my recap. Spoiler alert. All right, welcome back to another episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance, and I'm with E as usual. How you doing, E?
Good yourself?
Yeah, I've been pretty good. Actually, I filmed some college football playoffs the other day, where you usually film at the Caribbean. So I finally found out of that death zone you were talking about, where you got to jump out of the way because the players are running into that soft kind of air blown up wall. So it was kind of cool.
Did you use young cheerleaders to as human shield? Because that's the main thing. It's like everybody's just squished in together. Where there's like cameramen, there's cheerleaders, there's the chain gang refs, all that, and it's like everyone for themselves.
Yeah, I didn't have to use any cheerleaders, but unfortunately, I did see a couple of cheerleaders get taken out.
Oh yeah, really?
Because they got nowhere to go, man. They're stuck. It's pretty close to sidelines. But I was lucky. I was kind of on the other side for the second half, so I was in between the two benches. So I was able to get some really good shots, and there wasn't too much traffic around me until the last minute of the game. And then I had two plays back to back where I had to like high step out of there, dodge some players sliding by my feet. And they used me for like a live replay. And you just see me running for my life backwards, but I was still following it. And like when the guy got tackled, I just put the camera down and I was right on him. So it turned out to be a good shot. But I was afraid because you don't know what's behind you, right? I was running backwards. So, but I survived. I didn't get taken out because I realized too, as I'm running in this, I'm like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't get hurt filming this college football game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's like, one, I don't want to get hurt. Two, no one's gonna, if my camera breaks, it's not like anyone's gonna offer to pay for it. And three is just I'm on this 70 to 200, so even if I do get the shot, they're way too close. It's not gonna look good anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, I was for their feed actually. I was working for them for their scoreboard feed and for TV. So it was like I could zoom out pretty wide, and it wasn't my gear, but still, I don't want to get hurt. But you were just filming the Eastern Conference Finals yesterday.
Yes.
So how was that?
Same thing. Dodged a couple, couple collisions, which so far I'm pretty good at. Probably because, like I said, there's no real reason for me to hold the shot too long. But yeah, no. Otherwise, it was cool. It was cool. I met Peter Sorellis in real life for the first time. Like we've met through this podcast and other collaborations, but it was the first time that we actually met in real life. So it was fun. We worked together, and it was a nice day. Game started at 3, so sun was out. All good, all fun. The next 2 days editing weren't that great, but got through it.
It's always fun filming. It's not fun doing the rush edit after, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I was saying to you before we started recording, like I do like a rush editing and job in the sense that once it's that by the next day it's over, it's done. There's nothing that's going to happen, and because otherwise with other projects sometimes they just drag on. There's changes. There's this, there's that. Where a 24-hour turnaround implies that 24 hours later I'm done. I don't have to worry about anything. So it's the closest thing to just filming and going home. Yeah.
No, it's nice. You give them a draft, they look at it, they have a couple changes, and then they move on. Because even they realize too, like this has a lifespan. Like they're on to the next game starting on Wednesday anyway. So
exactly.
All right. So I guess we'll get into today's topic. Right. So today's topic is something that you get asked quite often on your YouTube channel. It's about creating athletic recruitment videos.
Good idea. I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I'm going to have to create one. My son plays high level hockey. I do a lot of highlights for him too. A couple of his teammates have already asked me to create some in that. So we thought, hey, why not just talk about it? Maybe we can help some of our viewers. Maybe, you and I brainstorming, talking about this too. We can help out each other. Because honestly, I'll be honest, being in pro sports for so long, I haven't done a whole bunch of recruitment videos. I'm doing highlight videos for guys, for pro athletes, but not to get them like, scholarship offers, stuff like that. I have helped out, some of my friends' kids in the past and had a couple clients, but honestly, I haven't done as many as you would think I would have done considering I've been in pro sports for so long.
Yeah, well, I think it's a relatively new thing, like in terms of like the last 5, 10 years. Like, I don't think it's something that people used to do 15, 20 years ago. So it kind of makes sense considering how old you are. But, but other than
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
that,
We already had our last episode, no, a couple episodes ago where we relived the past, where we told
yeah.
people how tough it was doing tape edits and stuff like that. We already
Mm.
had that old man episode now. Okay. We want people to forget how old we are. Okay.
Exactly. But no, yeah, I do think that now it's becoming a very popular thing because everyone has access to cameras on their phones and stuff like that. Like everyone's filming their kids as soon as they get to a level. Well, they probably do it before that, but as soon as you start getting to a point where you want to potentially, get a scholarship or something to go to college, or get recruited in some kind of way. Um, you've got all that footage, so you're usually hiring someone to try to make a sizzle or something that's you'll be able to send to coaches and schools and things. But usually it's more the people who end up doing those videos are usually like probably people who watch this podcast and watch my YouTube channel. It's not necessarily the pros who do this all the time. It's more like people who cover high school football, who cover like who deal usually with like a younger demographic, which is also that's how they get their jobs basically. Because if you're filming a lot of high school football, then you already have the footage, and then they go to you to edit the video. So it's all there's a lot of money to be made, in college and high school sports, but usually it's just that you're dealing with individuals instead of working for a team or a school. You're working for all these different parents, all these different kids, and so it's a lot of edits. It's a lot of people to deal with, and individually they might not be giving you a lot of money, but if you have a lot of contracts, then it can get into good money. But it's a lot of work and a lot of people to deal with. So there's pros.
Also now, and being Canadian, we're both Canadian, the NCAA rule just changed last week where kids who play in the OHL, WHL, Quebec Major Junior, they can now play NCAA hockey Division 1. So there will be opportunity to create some high level what, recruitment videos, because these kids can now play their CHL career and then they can go NCAA after. So yes, the top kids probably won't need it because the teams will always scout them, but some kids who maybe aren't the top kids who still want to go in that route might need some recruitment videos too. So it will open up the doors. This rule, I think, will open up the doors for video editors to create more recruitment videos because the NCAA will be looking here more now.
Okay.
You didn't know that rule passed. It was big. It's big news in my son's circle and my
Yeah, yeah,
circle.
yeah. I
But that was a
imagine.
big deal because before, like, so my son participated in the Sherbrooke camp. Uh, After so many hours, and if you play an exhibition game, you're no longer NCAA eligible
Okay.
because of that, because you considered you played against pros. But now you are NCAA eligible, so that can lead to more recruitment videos. So that's kind of one of the reasons too why we're having this kind of topic, because it's like I'm just here to pick your brainy, see what, because if I hire you, I want to see what you're going to be offering me. Okay.
Can you afford me? That's the question.
I'm pretty sure. I think so. I don't know. I don't know. It depends. Maybe your rates have gone up a bit. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see. So let's just start off with, what is it that coaches are looking for or want in a recruitment video?
All right. Well, I think coaches, and this is, I haven't done, like we said, I haven't done that many, so it's not like I know for sure. But what I think is that coaches, obviously, they have to watch hundreds of those videos. They have a lot of other things that they need to deal with. So they're not impressed with your editing skills and the sizzle reel with, your music choices, all that sort of stuff. They really want it short, quick, to the point. they want to see the skills of the player. And well, should I play that video I was making you listen to earlier a bit? Like it's like a coach. I think it's like a Division 2 basketball.
Yeah, you can play that clip if you want.
Yeah, might as well, instead of just trying to pass his ideas as my own.
Because let's be honest, recruitment videos are going to be different than what your Instagram highlight videos are.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you don't need it as fast, but you need to show great plays right away. But anyway, I'll let you play your clip.
Yeah, I'll try to play it in a way that people can hear.
Should kids put in the highlight film? This is great. Yes. Well, this is for me. I'm one coach out of 430 in Division 3 and over 8,000 around coach. But go ahead, fair. Still learning a lot about this level. Yes. Shouldn't be more than 40 seconds because that's all we got to watch. Put your best stuff early. Show your athleticism. Show your wiggle. Can you dribble by guys and make plays? If you're a shot blocker, put that in there. If you're going to do a catch and shoot three, guy drives, kicks it out to, and you make the shot. Like, okay, one of those. What is your skill set? Can you show me your skill set in 40 seconds? I don't need to see, and I don't want to see 12 catch and shoot threes from the corner. Okay, how many guys on my team can catch and shoot a 3-pointer from the corner? I hope all of them. Yeah. That's not a determining fact. That's not moving the needle. Can you dribble? Can you get into paint? Can you finish over a guy that's bigger than you? Can you finish with the wrong hand? Can you make a play? Can you guard? Can you guard the ball?
That's the one.
Should kids put in the...
I think that's it.
Some pretty good advice there.
Yeah.
So
to the point,
can you wiggle?
focus on your skill set. Can I what?
Can you wiggle? That's what he wants to know. That's what he wants to see right off the top. I actually just want to describe this for our viewers our listeners who are listening on like Spotify or Apple, that E just had his phone up to his face the whole time. So when I edit this show, that's all you're going to see is the phone to E's face to his mic. So it's a great, great shot. And maybe I'll put the 2 shot of me laughing the whole time on E, but we'll see. We'll see how that edit goes.
Behind the phone.
That's it. So how are you going to emphasize what he's looking for in those videos?
Well, I think the important part is to recognize what, as the athlete, like what makes you stand out. What's your biggest sort of skill? What's the thing that coaches look for when they put you on the court or on the field, and just make the video mostly about that. Just show them how good of a defender you are, or of a shot blocker, or if it is shooting, then show how good you are shooting under pressure. Like you said, not just catch and shoot corner threes, because how many people do like 15 in a row in practice but can't make one in a game? So like, show how you can do it in a pressure situation. So how do you film that? Then it's obviously, if it is a game thing, then it's definitely filming games, but also I would film a training from up close just to show how good of a technique you have. So like, and if it's defending, then definitely a training I can sort of get on the court and show up close how intense and well positioned, and everything that you do right, like make sure that it's visible, it's obvious, because once again, it's a short video, so it has to be obvious.
If I was thinking about when he was telling like what he's looking for, is how every sport is different. So like every recruiting video per sport will be different. Like, so if you're a lineman in football, it's not as a dynamic as maybe the basketball video would be, because like you're showing dribbling, you're showing defense, you're showing long range jumpers, you're showing like you said, driving over a taller defender. Where in football, if you're a lineman, you're just showing blocking, you're showing how you open up gaps, you're showing how maybe you help your team score or you sack the quarterback, depending. So every sport is different. So I guess first thing you got to do is, once you have the sport or the athlete, you got to talk to that athlete and see what his strengths are. What is it that you're looking to film? Because when you show up, it's not a carbon copy for everybody. It's an individual recruitment video. So this video is personalized for one person and one reason.
Yeah. And if you are a linesman, then like if you're anyone that's not like that's not scoring, basically, probably that those huddle cameras are not going to cut it because you're not in the video that much. Or even if you are, it's hard to see actually how good you are at what you do. So like it's definitely worth having someone there at the game filming you specifically and showing what you do, and showing how good you are, because those AI cameras that are 20 feet up in the air focusing on the entire field are not going to display your skills. Not going to make you just do you justice.
No, exactly, exactly. And you want to show those tight, close shots so people can see, your strengths and your weaknesses right away. Where when it's that wide open shot, you don't see much. You see the play happening, but you don't really see the individual skill sets. And I always found the higher you are from the field, the slower the action looks. So when you're down low, it looks a lot faster. It looks a little more dynamic. It's definitely more interesting for a coach to see you from that angle. So now, us as videographers, how do we help the athlete?
Well, by putting him in the best in the best light, I think. Like it just like I said, once you know what the skill set is, find a way to make it as obvious as possible, and so if it is like shooting at training, so that you can recreate actions that you'd be seeing in a game, but from up close, then maybe that's the best way to do it. Um, but also like try to like again, it's a short video. You don't want to overdo it, but if you can manage to get like the personality of the player come through a bit, whether it's he's talking over the action as a voiceover or something like that, just basically trying to make him come out as a good guy, as a good person, so that anyway, all these little things that you use as a videographer to help that player stand out, basically.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these schools are making a big investment on you. So they're not just looking at your attributes on the field; they're looking at your attributes off the field too. So they want to, yeah, they want to see your personality. They want to make sure you're a good person. They're going to do some research on you too. The highlight videos to help you get in the door and get them to start looking at you. Because once they see the highlight video, then they'll come to your games. They'll see for themselves. They'll check you out. Like I know in hockey, so I've talked to scouts because my son's a goalie. So, I always ask what they're looking for in goalies and stuff like that. And I know we've sent scouts to watch goalies when they're not even playing. They want to see what they're like on the bench. They want to see what they're like with their teammates, which is interesting because you're like, wow, you're watching a kid who's not even playing today. Now, obviously, they're there for other kids too. They're watching other kids too, but it does help that when they do see that kid and how he interacts with his teammates and stuff like that. So, the recruiting video is to get your foot in the door. They will then scout you if they're interested. But
Yeah.
our job is to make sure that they get interested.
Sounds
So,
sick. 'Cause I remember, just sorry to cut you off. There's this women basketball coach was saying, she goes, when she would recruit, she would purposely, especially if it's like it's supposed to be a super good player, um, she would only go see games that are blowouts, that she knew like they were gonna blow out the opposition or get blown out by the opposition, just to see how that player acts in those types of situations. Which is interesting.
which is crazy, right? Because you
Yeah.
think like they're evaluating your skills and when you're playing good, and you think I didn't have a good game, so the scout didn't think of me like I was good tonight. But no, they're looking at what you can be. They're not looking at what you are at that moment.
Yeah.
That's
Are you
what's hard, and
still
that's what
sort of
yeah, you're still
throwing the
develop.
towel, encouraging and being in the game and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the first part we got to discuss is how do you get hired as a videographer for these kind of recruitment videos? Because do kids know where to reach out? Or do you know where to go? So we'll I guess we'll try and help our audience kind of figure out, okay, how do I get into this if this is something I want to do?
Like you, I mean, when I was in high school, those opportunities weren't around, so it's not like I've lived it, but from what I'm seeing from my viewers and a lot of people who are into it right now, they're all pretty much just filming a lot of high school games, and here in Quebec, I've seen, like, when I was filming a Grasset game, which is not university, not high school. We have this weird thing in Quebec that's in between, and they were filming. There's a bunch of kids that were there filming for like a player or two, because they go to that school or they play football in that league, so they know a lot of players, and they all these players know that these guys can handle a camera, so they film games, they meet people, they network like that, and then players hire them to do little, whether it's a sizzle reel or a recruitment video, things like that. So it's a lot about who you know. So it's your friends, it's your team, it's your opponents if you play in that league against other teams. Not everybody knows each other. So if you're older coming in, then it's probably not your your teammates or anything like that. But if you're filming enough games, people know you, because after, if you're filming high school sports and you're posting on Instagram and you're tagging these players, I guarantee you, anyone who's you tagged in your video that did something cool, whether it's a touchdown, a dunk, a goal, whatever, is going to reach out and say, "Hi, man, can you send me the video?" Blah, blah, blah. And I always say yes, because I see it as they provide me free content at the end of the day. So the least I can do is just, give them the footage. I've used it anyway. And so it creates that rapport. We sort of know each other now, and they feel like they obviously like what I'm doing, and next time when they want something done, they want an actual edit, then they'll definitely reach out and say, "Oh, so how much would you charge to do like something like this?" And you're like, "Oh, well, I would charge that much." And then, yeah, that's how it starts. Really, you just go to games, you film games, you post on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you tag as many players and coaches and teams, and the rest will take care of itself. That's how I see it anyway. What about you?
Uh, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, honestly, you got to be in the gyms. You got to network. You got to actually show people what you do and tell people that you offer this service. Because, okay, someone might see you in the gym, but if they have no idea that you actually would be willing to do a recruitment video or to follow a certain kid. So you have to tell people that, hey, I offer this recruitment service. I offer these video editing services, and let people know, especially the kids that you're filming in the gym. So if you do tag people in some stuff and then they reach out and ask for clips, you can always message them and say, hey, by the way, on the side, I can do a recruitment video too, if you'd like, and kind of open up those doors, because people don't know the services you sell until you tell them. They don't, not everyone's just going to assume like, oh, he's here filming. He must do recruitment videos. So you have to, tell people. And then I think you need a strong social media presence. You need to start showing some of those great shots. It doesn't have to be like nowadays, you could show so many different things. You could put together a game recap. You can put together just some of the best plays from that game. But the more you put out, the more that you show that you have different shots and you're a pro and it looks good, the more people are going to be interested, especially kids. They love seeing stuff of themselves. They love sharing it with their friends and getting tagged in that. So you have to have a strong social media presence if you do want to attract some clients for recruitment video.
Yeah, no, I agree. So would you like, should we go into the sort of the money side of things? Like, how would you price for a video like that? Like, how do you, obviously pricing is different, different parts of the world, but like, what would be your strategy basically?
Pricing is really tricky because some of these kids probably can't afford the services. Now there's some that can. So you have to know where you're filming. Obviously, if you're filming at say a richer school or something like that,
Like
maybe
a
you could
private school or something?
a private school, something, then maybe you probably have the option where you could charge your regular rate. I'm gonna say though, like 7 out of 10 times, you got to make sure that you really like doing this, because I don't see you being able to charge a lot to actually get a recruitment video. At least the first one, maybe if they're a repeat customer, maybe you could. Um, but I definitely wouldn't be able to charge hourly. I would have to charge project based, because it does take a lot of time. I'm not going to show up one game and just be able to get the best out of somebody. I'm probably gonna have to go 2 or 3 times if I want to do a really, really good job. I feel like a 3-game limit would be good in that package. I could do more than one video though to kind of keep my price higher or kind of make a little bit more. But I feel like it is a little time consuming, so you have to like it. That's why I would go by project based. So say, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw out a number. If I say it's $1,000 for this recruitment video, well, I know, okay, I filmed 3 1 hour games. So say 4 hours with travel and then 4 hours to edit. Okay, it was an 8-hour project for $1,000. Okay, that I'm okay with. Now, I'm not saying those are the real numbers or that's how it always goes, but that's the kind of mindset you have. Because if I go just hourly on some stuff, it could take me 12 hours because I want to do effects. I want to do a little extra on it. Then it's going to be more time consuming. Now, since these are recruitment videos, not reels, I'm thinking the edit is a little bit lighter.
Simple.
Yeah, because it's cleaner. I don't need to go so graphic heavy in that. So I'm thinking of that when I'm charging a client, but some will double dip, right? Because you already have the footage. So they'll be like, hey, can you create me 2 reels and 1 recruitment video after the 3 games? So I would try and package it as kind of like a package, like here for $1,000, you're going to get 3 hours of filming. And then I'm going to edit you 3 reels or 2 reels and 1 recruitment video. I think it's an easier package to kind of sell and swallow that way too for the client, because it is expensive, especially your first time shooting for somebody. It's a trust. There's a trust thing. They don't know what you're like. They don't know what they're getting. You tell them you're getting these videos and you're doing these hours, but until they actually have it, they don't know what it's going to be like. And I'd also, one thing I do want to add is, when I'm giving this price net, I'll include 1 revision, 2 revisions, but make sure you make that clear, like how many times they can revise, because that will chew into your time. And that means the more time you take to re-edit, the less money you will make.
Has that ever happened to you?
You and I were talking about this off camera. So I'll open up. I'm working on this project. It's project based. I did include a couple of re-edits, but we're at the point now where we're at the limit of the re-edit. So it's like, hey, we can keep re-editing these little minor details, but now it's going to start costing you more. So you gotta lay down the law. And I did, but I'm a nice guy, and sometimes I'll give a little extra one for free. But now we're at the point where it's time to put my foot down.
This is the evil lens as a step.
No,
sure, okay.
Listen, it's silly things, and honestly, if for some reason I made a mistake in my edit, like, I don't know, say there's a spelling mistake, or they asked me to change a color on something and I didn't, no problem. I will re-export that. No questions asked. That's on me. But when it's little minute things over and over again, well, then eventually you have to have a limit, because it will never end.
By putting a limit, usually you avoid these things, because now they second guess everything and they actually think about it before asking you for a change. Where when there's no limit, people tend to, what we consider a change, they see it more as, let's try this and see how it looks. But they don't really, well, not that they don't understand, but for them, it's just, yeah, let's just try it and see. Like, they don't, for you, it's like, I'm losing money. The more changes I'm making, the more time I'm spending on this, the less the profit in theory I'm making. So you're trying to, and also you've got other things to do, but for them, it's, yeah, sometimes people, especially if it's people who don't necessarily produce videos regularly, and so their creative thinking is not, it's not developed enough to imagine things and say, like, have the foresight of saying, oh yeah, it's going to look good or not. So they're just like throwing random ideas at you, asking you to do them, not really knowing if it's going to work or not, or they're going to like it or not. So that just goes on forever. And working with, to come back to training videos, working with individuals, like people who don't necessarily do this regularly, they just happen to be good at sports and need a video, like that's most likely to happen if you don't set limits. But if you do set limits and say, hey, it's 2 rounds or 3 rounds of changes and that's it, then it forces them to instead of say, hey, just do this as a change, just so that they can look at it and then change their minds, they'll ask you, like, do you think if we do this, it would look good? And it's much better to have a conversation than to do the whole thing to then go back to where we were. So yes, it's same thing with weddings. Like, you deal with people who are not used to produce videos, and they're trying to get the best video of their lives, and so there's a lot of back and forth and things like that. So by having limits, it forces them to think twice, maybe have a conversation, things like that, and then there's less back and forth, less hours spent on the edit, and the final product is good for you and good for them. Because the other thing about that, like, as we're talking about, getting jobs in this, is that by making a good video, it also serves to you as a business card. Like, if you make a good one and it works, and then that person gets recruited, then you can show it to other people and say, here, I made this video for that person, and they got recruited to that school. And that becomes sort of your, now people want to hire you, and they'll just say, do the same thing for me, basically. What do you need from us to do the exact same thing that you did for them? And that becomes sort of your thing. But I do think that, like, if you're working, if you have access to a more, like you're saying, like a richer school, a private school, something like that, then there might be an opportunity to work with the school, because you're dealing with a lot of parents that have a lot of money, and maybe they want to come together and pay you to be at every game, for example. And then there's this footage of every game that is there in the bank, and that then you can be paid. Maybe after that, you're paid directly by specific parents who want to take that further into an edit or something. But yeah, like richer schools have usually parents with a lot more money, and there's ways to get stuff like that done, and it becomes a service that the school offers, which makes them look good, because it's like, you pay all this money, but look at everything that we do, and blah blah. So everybody wins. So, but there's not at the moment, I don't think there's a lot of schools that do that, but I think it is going in that direction. So if you have a high end sort of, private school in your area that has like a good sports program, I would definitely try to network with them and talk with them, and maybe offer to film a few games for free, just so that it can see what you can do, and maybe start that relationship that way, and see if you can take it from.
Yeah, because you don't have to just do one individual on the team. Where most teams have two, three really good players, say in basketball, for instance. So you can approach those players and say, listen, I'm here to solve your problem. Their problem is they need to get recruited. They want to go on to the next level. Well, your solution is the recruitment video. So you can bundle it where, like, hey, if you guys want to save costs, I can film these 3 games, and I'll follow all 3 of you guys. So that's something you can do. It's package it. Now, let's say you're working with an individual, they're on a team. I would also suggest to them, like, hey, talk to your coach. Tell your coach, like, I'm going to be here filming these games. Can I get some special access? Can I get access to the locker room? Can I get like some pregame speeches and stuff? Not that you necessarily need these elements for your recruitment video, but maybe I could use them in a creative way for a quick cutaway, or to show a bit of your personality, to show some smiles, to show you're serious. These are all different little elements that you can add to that video to make it a little bit more dynamic. But have the coach know that you're there. Have the player tell the coach you're there, because, as he already mentioned on the show, we're older guys. So we want to be walking around these younger kids, filming basketball games, like, who's that old guy over there in the corner? Let people know why you're there, who you are, and, like, hey, I'm here. I'm representing this kid. He wants to get wants a recruitment video. And it's all part of networking and talking to people, and let people know services you offer and why you're there. But getting that access will definitely make the product a lot better.
Yeah. No, I agree. So let's get into, like, the actual filming of the video. What's what type of shots do you think are the most necessary, I would say?
Obviously, I mean, you need lots of different angles, right? I think you're gonna go wide. Like, so every sport is gonna be different. So say if I'm gonna say hockey for my son. He's a goalie. So I gotta show how that play is getting set up and how he's reacting to it to make the save, right? But if I'm doing basketball and I want to show my recruit guy doing dribbling, say, well, I'm going to be a lot tighter on him because I want to show his ball handling skills. I want to show how he's deking out his defender. So every sport is going to be different, but I'm going to kind of attack it the same. I'm going to want different angles of all these shots. I'm going to want a wide shot, a medium, and a close up. And I want to show their athleticism. And by that, I mean, I want to show their speed. So I'm not going to always use slow motion shots. Maybe if someone makes a great play or block, I'll use a quick slow motion shot, but I want to show the speed of it. So I will shoot at a higher frame rate, but I will 9 out of 10 times show the edit at the real speed. I don't know if that kind of answered your question. I kind of went off a little bit more when I went to editing right away. But while I'm filming, I'm going to be trying to think about how I'm going to edit it, how I want to present it, and how I want to show it. I do kind of want to set it up like a little bit more cinematic. I don't want it to just be my camera chasing the play. I want to set up. So since I'm going to be there for a couple games, I'll find a good spot on the court or in the field, and I'm going to try to get the play to come to me, because I'm filming that one individual. So I have a couple of chances at it. Like, say if a kid's a wide receiver, well, he's not going to catch every ball, but the ones he catches, I'm going to make sure I have them and I have the best angle possible. So there's a bit of homework I find you got to do too, depending on your sport and depending on where your athlete plays. And then I'm going to figure out what shots I need to make him look the best I can.
That makes sense.
It seemed like a little ramble, that answer. I don't know. When I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, was that all over the place?
No, but I think, it applies to like sports in general. I don't know how specific to like recruiting videos this conversation is, but I think I do like obviously, like you said, it's very sport specific, like every different positions, different sports, you might approach it a different way. I film for pregame anyway, like at that football game mentioned earlier. I was on a 24mm lens, which I never am when I'm filming sports, because it's way too wide to zooming into anything interesting. But because it was pregame and I could go on the field and get close to players and getting shots of them like during warm up, I thought I'll make the most of it, and I really liked it. I really like my pregame shots are definitely I prefer, I'm in love with those shots, where my game shots, I feel like are not as good as they could have been. Obviously during pregame, you're trying to, get the right angle with the sun so it looks like cinematic, and the composition and all these things I wasn't worrying about while I was filming the game. But yeah, I do like the idea. I think what's cool about it, what I'm getting to, is that, like, for especially for a recruitment video, if you filming someone doing certain like reps of something and you can get sort of up close, it's cool to have that player, in the low angle shot, like that hero shot, doing his thing, but it's such a wide lens that you can still see all the background behind them, and you can see the stadium, you can see the other players. They're obviously out of focus in the background, but it's not just the player. And with a tight shot where you don't really see anything else, you can still see everything, but the player is still sort of real close and sharp, and that's where your attention goes, which is the scene is much wider, and you can see more context, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would really like to use that sort of style if I was shooting a recruitment video that allowed me to get close to my subject. Like, I think I would just stick to like a prime 24 or 35mm lens and go with a low f-stop, and just do some cool hero shots from up close, and then obviously mix that with some game footage.
I think those hero shots are very, very important, especially in recruitment videos, because you want to try and show the person too, right? Like it's not all about the plays. You want to keep the coach interested for those 40 seconds, right? That they're going to watch. So it can't just be play after play after play because they need to kind of see you too a bit. And you want to draw them in. So having a variety of shots just helps your video. And at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. You're trying to tell a story, right? That recruitment video is telling a story. I don't want to just say, hey, I'm a good player. I'm a good person. Also, I love my sport. I love what I do. I want to continue. And that's what you're trying to show. Whether it's, you're this, because not everybody is the star of their team. Some people are good teammates. They're very good players, but they're good teammates. So those hero shots you could show yourself to being good teammate, being there for other people, supporting, that will definitely help show your personality also.
So how would you tell that story then? Like, what would be your sort of ideal structure for a recruitment video?
Yeah, it's tough because like part of me wants to see like a graphic, kind of like a Monday Night Football graphic where you have the person standing there and you have their height, their weight, and all that stuff come in at one point and put a little bit of extra work into it. So first of all, my client feels that there's some value that I did a little After Effects. I didn't just show up and film their games and put their highlights back to back with a couple close-ups and that. So I think that would be cool. But honestly, I'm looking for a way to start it off with a punch. Like I'll use my best play right away because I need that coach or that recruiter to say, "Whoa, like Lance, did you see that play is incredible?" Or that, "Wow, how did he make that save?" Or "How did he make that catch?" Right off the bat, and then keep that interested. So like that whole spec I just said with all my stats or my height and all that, I'll throw that in maybe later on if I want. Okay, so
Uh,
40 seconds to a minute. My first three shots, I want to be impactful. So I want like a big play. I want a quick close up smile or something to show me. And then I want another big play right away for my first three cuts right off the bat. After that, it depends on what else, I have, but I'm trying to go heavy right away. And I'm just going to keep going. And maybe that player profile, I'll end with that. Or ideally I would love to have like a sound bite where somebody else describes you. If you have like house announcers or something like that and you make a big play, like I would like to end with something that leaves them like, oh wow, this guy's really good, or this guy made a big play, or this guy, you know he's a gamer. Like, look at this situation, it's a pressure situation, he hits the big shot. I want to end with something strong also, but my best clip is going first.
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think in terms of storytelling, like you said, it's 40 seconds to a minute. I would to try to get my personality shine through. I would either go with like a voiceover where maybe I'm giving an interview or something, and I'm talking about myself in a fun sort of way, or it's like a coach who's talking about me or a teammate. Someone's talking about you. But when I say me, I mean the athlete, um, and doing it in a way that makes you look like a team player, like a good person, like a driven, motivated sort of person, like something around those lines. And yeah, just use it more as a audio component while you're showing the coach or the recruiter what they're here to see. And and yeah, like you said, you did that slide, that info at the end. Yeah, I would definitely put at the end, if at all, to be honest, because I'm thinking if they're watching the video, they probably already know your stats anyway. But yeah, that's something that I would finish on more than start with, because at the start, like you said, it's all about getting them interested into watching the rest of the video, getting them hooked on how good you are, and just curious to finish that video because it started so impressive that now they're into it and they want to watch the whole thing, especially because they know that it's only 40 seconds. Where if you're giving them like a 5 minute thing, they're like, oh my God, what is this? Like, who is this person who thinks I have 5 minutes to give them? And then the video starts and it's this slow build of like, like we're building up this story in like 20 seconds, and they're like, oh, that's it. They're just shutting it off and moving on to the next one.
Well, I had a parent the other day at my son's game because I always film and I always have my GoPros. And he found out that I work in pro hockey. He didn't know. So he asked me about the possibility of doing a video for his son. And right away, he suggested a 5-minute video.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, it was a red flag for me. Because first of all, he just found out I worked in hockey. And then he's like, hey, can you make my son a video? So I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I asked him, I said, what do you want this 5-minute video for? And he's like, oh, for the memories. So I said, okay, that's that. I said, okay. So I was like, okay, I didn't think of it like that. So I said, okay, just for the memories? He's like, well, no, and I could send it to schools too. And then I said, okay, well, listen, then there's 2 different videos. You're not going to want to send a 5-minute video to a school. And I'll be honest, I don't want to edit a 5-minute video of your kid because it's going to take me forever. Like a good 40-second to a minute video is probably going to take me 2-3 hours, maybe more if I'm doing graphics and stuff. If I'm really going through all those game highlights and looking for the best possible angle, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
And then, and that's not even talking how long it takes me to choose music. Like that takes me a while too. So could you imagine a 5-minute video, how long that would take? Forget it. No, thank you.
I just made one.
And how long? So you just made one, okay? How long did that take?
Well, it was pretty quick because it was a 24-hour turnaround. So, but I did make the mistake of thinking that, game was at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So instead of like going home straight away and just getting started, because basically I had to send a first draft by Sunday night. Yeah. I thought, I need to eat anyway. So I went to a friend's house to eat. And next thing you know, I'm home at like 11:30 midnight. And there was 3 cameras. So by the time I put everything into my computer, that took like at least an hour. And then, yeah, from there, anyway, I did like a quick reel for Instagram that didn't take long. It was just like one play that it sort of speed ramped and keyframed. But the video itself, yeah, probably took me, I want to say, well, there was changes and stuff, but like I want to say probably 10 hours, something like that. But it's one of these things where if I had, 2-3 days, I would have taken those days. Like it's not like it would have taken me the time that it took me, no matter what. I would have taken the time to really go through each camera, get all the best clips from each camera, make sure I'm using the best footage at every sort of thing. But yeah, it made me realize anyway, all that to say that like, because I hadn't made a 5-6 minute video in a very long time. And it was just, to me, it felt like it was dragging on a bit at times. But it's not the length. It's just that it's back to back to back, because it was the final score was like 30-28. There was a lot of interceptions, a lot of fumbles, things like that. So a lot of stuff happened. It's not like I could sort of a little pause and then go back. It was just, field goal, touchdown, interception, field goal, touchdown, field goal, field goal. So it's just one thing after the other. There's no break. So that, I think, to me, like for 5 minutes felt after a while like, okay, like it's just the same. Yeah. There was there were ups and downs because it was kind of back and forth with the scoring. So at least there was that. And there was like at some point, one of the QBs broke his ankle. So that was like, dramatic sort of moment. Yeah, it was pretty intense. Left in a stretcher and everything. But they still won. Spoiler alerts.
You check my recap. Spoiler alert.
Exactly.
Honestly, my kind of rule of thumb is in my head is I always double my footage to the editing. So like if I have 1 hour of footage, say if I film something for an hour, I know the minimum edit is going to take me is 2 hours, maybe 3. But like that's how I kind of calculate a bit in my head. So I know if I'm filming a hockey game and it's a 1 hour game, then it's probably a 2-hour edit. By the time I go through, fix all the best shots, start laying them out, it doesn't mean my final edit. I just mean like my first rough edit, and that it's probably double the amount of time of my footage. At least that's how I kind of estimate it in my head, or when I'm giving out prices and that's how I kind of judge it a bit. Because you got to go, like it's our job, right, to go through and pick the best shots. So, well, when you're looking at 3 camera angles and you might have the same guy breaking his ankle in all 3 shots. Now you got to make sure you show the best one. Or you can show the far one and then you got to show the close up. There's different ways to tell that story. But at the end of the day, your job is to show the best shots possible.
And also edit in a way that tells a story. Like, it's like I've seen other videos of that same game, and it's just play after play. There's no, well, I had access to commentary as well, so that definitely helps because the commentators are painting a picture. They're adding emotions. They're doing all these things, so I can use that as the base of my story and use it at the right time. And when they talk about something bad happening, I can show people, deceit. And like when the injury, I showed like he's mentioning it. They just lost their quarterback, and then you see all the players on one knee, and then you see the stretcher sort of rolling away, but now everything is on this other guy's shoulder, and then you see him walking into the game. So it's about telling the story both with audio and vision, so that way a 6-minute thing doesn't feel like 6 minutes, but because it can really be, it's just highlight after highlight, which is why, to again go back to our recruiting video topic, that's why, well, for a recruiting video, 5 minutes is way too long because it's just play after play after play after play. And of course you could do the same thing and said, like I said before, like use interviews with the player or with coaches or teammates to make it feel more like a story. But I think you're because you have to know your audience. Your audience is not someone who's there to learn and watch a story. It's a coach who has hundreds of videos to watch, and they've got a purpose, they've got a thing to do, and you got to cater to that audience. So you got to be very careful with so all that to say that, yeah, 5 minutes for memories, for family memories and all that, that's great. But for recruiting video, you definitely want to make a second version.
Actually, we did have a request one time by a scout to send us a full game. So that is something that people might ask too, that you could always offer as your service too. And basically you would cut whistle to whistle, and we were asked for a win and a loss. So I provided that on YouTube. I just put a YouTube link and I gave it to them, and they can go watch it whenever they want. Because sometimes people do want to see the full game, but that would come after.
I guess that's where these huddle cameras come into.
Yeah, exactly.
Come in handy. Yeah.
But you're still gonna have to edit it out and take out whistle to whistle. So it's still, and that takes longer. That takes long because you're watching the full game and you're taking out, so
especially when there's no game clock where you can just fast forward to the breaks and
exactly. So okay, so no one's giving you a 5-minute video. So how are you keeping the recruiter's attention for that 40 seconds?
Giving them what they want. Like that guy said at the start, you put your best plays at the start, and then you focus on the skill sets, and yeah, keep it short, keep it to the point, and make it obvious. Because, like, for an example, another question is always like, is phone footage good enough? And I think if you're filming a sport where filming with your phone gets you good enough quality and close enough to the action that we can actually see the player, then yes, I think phone footage is good enough. But if it's so pixelated or it's so wide that you actually have to put a circle around the player just so we know who he is, well, I guess if that's all you've got, then yes, probably do the circle thing at the start so we know where to look. But it's definitely not ideal. Like, it's so yeah, make it obvious. My point is, make it obvious. Make it easy to recognize who's the player that we're watching and what they're doing. Because that's more what I was getting at with the bad footage, is that if I can't even identify you, it's probably going to be hard to tell what you're doing unless you're scoring a touchdown or shooting a 3-point. If you're more in the supporting role, phone footage is probably going to be hard if you're filming from the stands. So yeah, just make it obvious, make it easy, make the recruiter's life as easy as possible.
Yeah, and even the cuts, like, let the play breathe a bit. You don't have to be so fast on all the cuts because you want them to see the play, you want them to see the athleticism. It's not a reel, so it's not just about quick cuts and making sure that you're keeping their attention. The other thing I will add on is, so before when I mentioned the graphic with their stats or their height and all that, you also want to include on how they at the end of the video is like, how do you get in contact with me? So I would suggest like a call to action slide at the end, and you can always add that graphic in there too with your stats or your height or weight or whatever. But you definitely need a call to action because you're like, hey, you just watched my awesome video. Now get in contact with me. So the last thing I'm going to have in my videos is that call to action slate is like how to get in touch with me, my coach or whoever you need. All the info is going to be on that last slate. Now, before we wrap this up, E, is there like do you have a favorite editing technique or something that you would use to kind of spice up your recruitment video? Is there something you would do?
Not really. I think I would keep it simple. Like I said, I'd like to get as close as possible to the action, so just cuts and, maybe a few wide shots obviously for variety, but yeah, keep it simple. I wouldn't put any effects. Maybe sound effects, so just that the actions make them a bit more dynamic, a bit more impactful. But definitely on the visual side of things, I would keep it pretty straightforward. Unless, like I said, you poor quality and we can't really identify the player, like, because definitely can't see his face. So as soon as we can't see the number, we don't know which one it is. So in that case, maybe I would start with like a freeze frame at the start, a circle around the actual player, and then let the play start. So that way the coach just straight away knows exactly where to watch.
Yeah, that works great in football, right? Basketball, you don't really need that. Maybe hockey, you could. Baseball, definitely no. You can see who the guy is right away. There is one little trick that I do use and that I've asked when I've done recruitment videos in the past is I'll ask them if they have any still photos. And what I try to do with those still photos is I'll create transitions with those still photos, like a shutter roll effect kind of. And I'll use that in between shots. So this way you get to see the player up close. You gotta get to see them in dynamic, images. And I feel like it kind of breaks up the video a bit. And I use it like for sections or for big plays. Like, so say if I'm going to show a couple offensive plays and then I'm going to go defense after or vice versa, I'll use those photo transitions in between. And I feel like they spruce it up a little bit too. It's not just all about video. So that's a little trick I've used in the past.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I actually have a question. Since we're getting into the Q&A portion of this video, I don't know if you'll be able to answer because I got this DM and I don't really know what to say because it is very school. It sort of relates to our topic in a way because it's a education thing, but it's a very American thing. So I don't know if you'll be able to help me.
I'm too Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, question is, I'm a sports videographer from my high school and I'm a junior. I'm looking to pursue it in college. What major should I be trying to apply for and how should I approach getting on field for the school?
Okay. So
see what I mean? You might be too Canadian to actually know.
Yeah, I don't know actually what program he should go into. But like definitely in like, I don't know, television or something to do with film, journalism. So like when I was, I guess I'm old again. When I was a kid,
back in my day.
So the way it works here is I took creative arts and then the whole goal was to go to communications. And that is what opened your door into like cinema, television, and all that. So whatever your path is, like, I don't know what the courses are called, figure it out, whether it's multimedia now or whatever, figure out what it is that will get you there and do that. So I'd concentrate on those things and definitely some volunteer work. Like I volunteered at a TV station when I was in CJIP. And it was great access to gear. That's why I did it, because we got to use the gear whenever we wanted. So me and my friends got to make videos whenever we wanted with their gear. But even for you as a student, if you volunteer to the sports facility at your university and you're in the multimedia program, they will have gear for you to use. Because when you're a student, you're not going to have probably not going to have the budget to buy a $5,000 mirrorless camera and a lens and ND filters and lights and mics and all this stuff. But if your school has it and you're using all that for free, then that's already saving you and you're gaining tons of experience. Kind of what like Pete Gottschalk went through, right? Like he said when he was in school, that's what he did.
Mention, yeah.
So I would assume, I just don't know what the names of the programs are because I'm too Canadian. I'm really sorry. But that's how I would do it.
Yeah, because what Pete was saying, and I paraphrasing, but I think his major was more of a media / like communication, social media sort of. I think it was more like marketing / media, right? But then the videography side of things, like filming sports and everything, that was more of an extra curricular thing where you can volunteer and be part of the school's sort of sports videography team, and that's a separate thing from his actual study. So, and I think that's the best way to do it if you can. And I think like the Montreal University sort of does, or trying to do the same thing. And I had lunch with the guy, and he was saying like that's how all the American, the schools that have like big football programs or big sports programs in general, that's how they do it. Like they have a team of students that are basically volunteering to be part of that sports videography team, where they get taught, techniques, and they get to use all this gear for free. Then one's covering football game, the other one's going to like a swimming meet, and the other one's covering a volleyball game, and it's all, they cover every sport that way. But to then do a major in something more like marketing, media, social media, that to me is very smart, because it allows you to understand your audience. You understand how your videos are being watched, what people are looking for, how to write a good copy to go with your video on social media, so that it gets people interested, and maybe know how to write a call to action, or all of these things that come with video. You're not just, because often you're not just producing a video, you might be asked to do a bit more, and if you don't understand the world that your video is living with, then you're a bit clueless. Because again, back in our day, you were just producing videos, and that was it. You were a video editor, you were a cameraman, that was pretty much it. Like you didn't have to do like 5 or 6 different roles like we do now. So studying in that, and then doing the videography part more hands-on as a volunteering kind of role, that to me is a very smart way to do it.
Yeah, because you evolve. Like, I start off as a cameraman and a video editor, and now I'm a video agency where I have meetings with clients and I'm working on marketing strategies with them, and how are these videos going to help show their brand, show their values, show their offer, and all that. And I'm helping writing scripts, I'm coming up with storyboards, I'm doing all of that. Where I would love to go back in the day and be like, hey, give me the card and I'll sit there and edit your video. It's a lot less work. But nowadays you need to know a lot more tools, because there's so much social media. And these big schools, like they're posting multiple times a day about multiple sports. So you're going to be busy. You're going to film a lot of stuff. You're going to gain a ton of experience. So volunteer and get involved, because you will learn a lot and you will evolve faster than you ever thought possible.
It's a good way to finish.
That's it. Is that it? That's
strong.
That was finished strong. You're like, the guy has no idea what the name of the school programs are, but he gave me a nice quote to finish his podcast. Perfect. All right. Well, on that note, hopefully, we gave you guys some ideas on how to film recruitment videos. And if you have any questions, just email E or
Pete Gottschalk.
message E.
That's
See if Pete Gottschalk.
Get better answers.
But that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare.
See ya.